So I met this chick at the bar.
Yeah?
Oh, she was hot. She was just like, hey,
man,
you just want to
awesome.
And I was like, yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
CIB. Hey, where'd you earn that CIB at?
The PX? What? It's not stolen valor. I bought it with my... Oh!
Hey guys, welcome to another Throat Punch Thursday. And Ben, before you think I made that intro, I didn't. Some of my subscribers, some great people did that up for me, and I use that for all my Throat Punch Thursdays. But tonight's guest, a very good friend of mine that we've done some motorcycle riding together out in Sturgis. We busted our cherries out there. We were Sturgis virgins, and retired Navy guy, but he so much decided to come on the show with me tonight.
Absolutely.
Ben, I'll let you
Glad
give
to be
a
here.
little introduction.
I joined the Navy right out of, I went to a little bit of college, figured out that college wasn't for me. I was kind of stupid. Lower Alabama, didn't talk very well, breathe through my mouth. My best friend's dad had a bunch of cool tattoos, had a cool story for every tattoo. And I was like, man, I need to get some tattoos and get some cool stories. So I joined the Navy. That's basically where my Navy career began. And now I got a bunch of my own cool stories to go with some cool tattoos.
Well, I know we've chatted over the years, the last few years, and we were talking about Jeremy DeWitt earlier. He's not back in jail. I couldn't find him in either Orange County or Osceola County. But what I like to do is just highlight my two biggest valor thieves that refuse to admit that they lied about their entire military career. Jeremy DeWitt never went in the military, was a convicted felon at the age of 18, impersonated a police officer, impersonated a U.S. Army major, special forces, jump into Fallujah with a popped riser, bullshit story, which every bit of it was completely debunked. And then we have my latest one, Michael William Kaiser, who claims to be a staff sergeant, 3-tour, 2 Purple Heart. And the stories are just, you'll have to look them up because the stories are amazing. And come to find out, he failed basic training twice.
Well, he didn't quit. He didn't quit the first time.
He quit. He quit. He was weak, is what it was. Yeah. First time it was for medical. Second time, obviously, was for medical because somehow or another he finagled some type of, I think it was just a temporary 40% VA.
Mental health is medical. Mental health is medical. There you go.
Well, yeah. I think his mangina had sand in it.
So Jeremy, that's how I kind of followed or met you, Craig, was I started following you on YouTube with this Jeremy guy. And then me and you kind of connected the dots and saw that we were in line with motorcycling. And yeah, that's kind of how our journey friendship began. We had a good time out at Sturgis. I don't know about you, but I ditched combat vets. I couldn't deal with the drama.
Yeah,
with that,
I did too. Yeah.
Seemed like a drinking club with a motorcycle problem, and I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, well, you know me, I don't drink.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Drinking and motorcycles usually don't mix very well, or they do, but they don't end up very well.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't end up well at all. And when you're doing big group rides like that, the last thing you need is the guy next to you or in front of you or behind you that's had one too many.
Yeah.
And
I like riding by myself because I don't trust most people.
Yep. Yeah. We had a good time. We rode well together.
Absolutely.
We had a really good time at Sturgis.
So
But
tell me about your YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel's growing. It looks like you got a lot of people in the chat. And
yeah, I ignore my chat usually,
oh, okay.
and they're used to it. Yeah, we got about 30 people so far,
Good deal. Good deal.
and I
You
see
get
a
a,
lot of
you get a big group of vets. Is that what your
yeah.
channel is comprised of?
There's a lot of veterans in there, and there's also a lot of people that actually um, they fell for the whole Kaiser thing. That's where a lot of these people come from.
Oh, okay.
Um, they finally found out. See, I when I released my video about him, when I got his records, it was like 2 hours before he was on some big channel's live stream, and there's a guy that goes by Dickbag Patrol on YouTube,
Good
and
name.
he called him out on that live stream, and then they were going to play my video, and this kid couldn't get off the channel quick enough.
Just like powers out.
It's like, I got someplace to be, I can't stay and watch this. Da da da. Gone.
That's funny.
That's the last time anybody's ever heard anything about his military career. He's he's kind of yeah. He's kind
Well,
of
for me, I did a little over 20 years in the Navy, did some submarine stuff, did some stuff under the water, deployed 2 times, once with the British Royal Marines to Iraq, and then a second time to Afghanistan. And after I retired, worked as a lobbyist for a veterans organization, lobbying for veterans' rights, helped pass the VA Choice Act. And then I got tired of traveling back and forth to DC, and politics sucks. It's a dirty game. Everything's planned. There's no coincidences. And now I work in the realm of helping veterans file claims for VA disability and compensation, pensions, and stuff like that. So if any of your audience has questions about VA claims, I'm not a VA employee, so don't come at me with pitchforks and stuff like that. But I know the game. I know the game, and I used to work in that realm. So I'm happy to help or provide some guidance. I can give my personal opinion anyway,
yeah. Well, I mean, every state has got some type of a VSO program.
Yeah.
Veteran Service Officers.
Mhm.
I mean, I've even got one in my little town.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they are a wealth of knowledge in regards to the VA.
Tribal knowledge.
Yep, they know the ins and outs. So let me ask you this:
Mhm.
somebody comes to you, and they're looking to file a VA claim, and what type of documentation and information do you need before you can even start to help them?
Well, I mean, it usually falls into kind of 2 categories. First and foremost, you need a DD 214. If they were National Guard, they would only be covered under VA compensation for the time that they're on Title 10 orders, unless they have what they call a hold on. It's like where an incident occurs under the National Guard. I'm not a National Guard guy, but it's LOD, I think is what it's called.
Line of duty. Correct.
Yeah, LOD. So like that proves that whatever happened while they were drill or in the field or something like that. So that's the big thing. DD 214, the LOD for that specific time of whatever, and that's basically the way to get started. Now, things can get a little sideways if they have a less than desirable discharge, like a dishonorable or sometimes even an OTH under bad conditions. I don't help people file for discharge upgrades. I can tell them what paperwork to do, but discharge upgrades are between the individual and their branch of service. I've seen probably 200 discharge upgrades filed. I think I've seen 2 actually go through and get approved, because it's really hard to get the fill in the blank service, Marines, Army, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, to admit that they were wrong. And that's what you're having to do, is to get that branch of service to admit they were wrong. So I've seen 2 that were upgraded, and it was under that like the don't ask, don't tell thing when they were kicking people out with different lifestyles. Those are the ones that I've seen get upgrade. Most of the others, somebody gets out because they pissed hot. It's hard to go back and prove the Army was wrong with their urinalysis. It's damn near impossible, But even if they do get kicked out, the VA, if you get kicked out for whatever, the VA will provide care for mental health. So like your guy, Fraud it, whatever his guy's name was, if he has a serious mental health problem, the VA will help him with mental health. They won't provide services for like a bad ankle or shoulder or wrist, or sounds like he's going to have some leather Cheerio problems when he goes back to jail, but they will help him with some mental health stuff,
Yeah. Well, he got, according to him, and he had a VA ID card. Evidently, he got injured during basic training. He got
Sadly, that would be covered.
Yeah, he got an uncharacterized discharge because they started the discharge before he reached 180 days in the service. So they have no opinion on whether his service was honorable or not.
Yeah.
So it's basically still an entry level separation. However, because of the injury, he received some type of VA compensation. And I'm guessing that was only a temporary thing because the state of Alabama also gave him some money when they discharged him from the Alabama National Guard.
The whole severance pay, that is a rabbit hole in itself. If you get out with severance pay, so let's say you get out, you get hurt, fill in the blank. Let's say the Army gives you $20,000 severance pay. You get out and then you try to file a claim for that same injury. Well, that claim can get approved, but before you start receiving money for that, the VA recoups that severance pay. So you can't double dip with severance pay and an injury at the same time. They will recuperate that severance pay before they start paying you for that disability. And people get really upset whenever they find that out. That's a sideways nightmare that they don't like.
Yeah. Well, when I first got out the first time in 92, I took that VSI, and then when I retired, I had to pay that entire thing back.
Yep.
And
so
yeah, I know all about them. They're going to get their money back, and they're not going to write it off, even though it was for the good of the service that I came back in, and they were begging us to come back in, but they still wanted the money back, which
the
is
Air
fine.
Force right now is begging people to come back in. They want retirees to come back in the Air Force right now.
No, I'm at the golden age.
Yeah.
I'm no longer. I'm still subject to recall, but 65, they're not calling you back.
No, they're not. No,
it's not happening. Even though I could probably go back and work a few years, but not happening.
I don't think even if I could right now, I would go back into the poop show that they've got going on. No.
The military is a shit show.
Yeah.
What were you telling me about something about transgenders? And as most guys in the military know what a cock gazer is.
Yep.
That's the guy that comes in and watches you piss in a cup.
Operation Golden Flow is what we called it, right?
Yes, exactly. So now females have to watch transgender females.
Yep.
So
go to military.com.
This girl has to watch a chick with a dick piss in a cup.
Military.com had this whole big article where I guess they send you to like a school or some kind of training to go learn how to meet gays, right? And there was this transgender person, and they were doing their, urinalysis for whatever school it is, whiz quiz. Absolutely. I heard that before. And this regular female refused to go watch the person with the new female penis because that went against her, religious beliefs. And I want to say the lady got an Article 15 because she refused that general order to go do that. So it's a crazy situation. The other thing that most people don't know, or that I have learned through this, is we were talking prior, it is still classified as like a mental health disorder. So a lot of these soldiers, airmen, Marine, whatever, that get this transgender surgery while they're active duty, then they can technically file a claim, a mental health claim for that whole transgender transition. So it's kind of a weird situation. It's a weird dynamic, and the military pays for it. The U.S. Air Force, they have their own clinic set up, a whole military clinic at Lackland Air Force Base, where people go. They go TAD, or I don't know what you guys call it in the Army, TDY, I think is what it is.
Yep.
They go there for 6 weeks to have the whole top surgery, bottom surgery, all that. Then they're on like a light and limited type thing for 2 years, don't have to meet height weight standards for 5 years, I believe. They're non-deployable for 3 years, don't have to meet any physical fitness standards for 3 years either.
Man.
Well, it's not man, it's it.
Woman.
Whatever pronoun you want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so they're not deployable, which in my opinion, really affects the overall readiness. If somebody's non-deployable, then somebody else is having to double dip or fill that gap or fill that billet, that rotation. So it's really, it's like whenever I was in, they first started putting women on submarines. Women on submarines, great idea, fantastic idea. I don't disagree with it. But the juice isn't really worth the squeeze for the restrictions that you have to put on the rest of the crew. One of the submarines I was on, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 for cruise berthing, enlisted crew. You got 4 showers, 6 toilets, 6 sinks. Whenever they put females on there, that got cut in half. They got their own head. So you've got 150 dudes with 2 showers, 3 toilets, 3 sinks, and you had 2 females with the other entire head. So can it be done? Absolutely. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Probably not. The Germans and the Dutch had a great idea. They were like, you know what? Women, you want to be on submarines? Let's make a whole submarine with just women. So that's the way the Dutch did it. That's, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. So, I mean, all these stunning and brave women that want to go on submarines, good for them. I wish them the best of luck. I'm glad it's not me, but it just doesn't seem like what you're paying is, that cost benefit analysis. What are we actually getting from it? People can do it, sure, but are we really moving the mission down the field? That's just personal opinion. The other thing, I don't know if you know about this, 19 states in America right now have a female Veterans Day. And that's the new thing right now, is they're trying to push, and I say the people on that side of the road are trying to push for a female Veterans Day. Last time I checked, you go to a national cemetery, there's no male, female, race, gender, color, creed on a headstone. You check DD 214. Last time I looked, there was no race, gender, color, creed on a DD 214. You're a veteran's a veteran. And I think as soon as you start going female veteran, what's next? Do you have Mexican American veteran? Do you have black veteran? Do you have Chinese veteran, Filipino veteran? So I think this inclusiveness has breaking down to everybody wants to be exceptionalized. A veteran's a veteran, in my opinion. November 11th, Veterans Day. That covers everybody. We don't need a day in July for female veterans. That's just my opinion. And I'm sure.
And Veterans Day has to do with the armistice of World War One.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what's it? The 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour, or
something like that. Yeah. Where everything went quiet on the battlefield.
Yep. And
that's right.
So, yeah, well, that's like renaming all the bases. Fort Bragg is now Fort Liberty. Well, sorry, it's always going to be Fort Bragg to me.
Sure.
Home of the 82nd Airborne. It will always be Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
but they're changing the names for what reason?
I don't know. I really don't understand the whole situation or the dynamic. It's weird. The whole thing now is you can change your gender. I always ask people, like, can you change your race? And a lot of people are like, well, no, you can't change your race. Well, how can you change your gender then? You know, it's what's the difference?
Yeah, that's true. Um, but as far as military readiness goes, I could see where it could be a big issue.
Oh yeah. I could only imagine.
It's just, you know, even way back when I first joined, I mean, there was a dude that was in my unit at Campbell, 553rd MP Company. We were garrison MPs. We were law enforcement for the base. And obviously, he was gay.
Sure. Nobody cared.
Nobody cared. He didn't say anything about it. We didn't give a shit.
Yeah. Could he do the job? Obviously.
Yes.
Who cares?
He
That's
did.
all that matters.
And
That's all I care
then,
about.
and then all of a sudden they come out with this don't ask, don't tell. Okay. That was pretty much what we were doing anyway.
Yeah.
The dirty
I just don't
hippie,
care what people do in the
this
privacy
guy,
of their own home.
Dirty
Identify-
Hippie's a retired cop, retired combat vet,
Oh, good for him.
or combat vet.
Sure.
So he's on another channel. Him and Stone Vet do live streams a couple times, 3 times a week,
Mhm.
and good people. And they're just as
I just don't care. what
socially
people-
unacceptable as the rest of us.
Sure. Yeah. I just don't care what people choose to do in the privacy of their own home. I don't care. As long as they're not hurting people under the age of consent, I don't care what people do. I don't care what they lick. I don't care what they stick. I don't care what they identify as. Just leave me alone. If you push it in my face, I'm going to push back. But if you don't, I'm going to give you your space, and you keep yours. I'll keep mine. I just don't care. You know, I just don't care what people want to do or what their personal thing is. But whenever, like with your stolen valor stuff, when they start capitalizing off of lies and making other people look bad, I'm sure a lot of people pretend to be law enforcement, you know, and I think that's a felony, right? If you pretend to be a cop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's phony, and that goes all the way up through, like, you know, FBI, ATF, DEA, police officers, sheriffs.
Now, if you're just sitting in a bar and you're having a beer and somebody's like, "What do you do for a living?" You're like, "Oh, I'm an ex-cop." I don't know if that's illegal, but if they tried to do something official, that would be like,
Yes,
like pulling somebody over or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I've watched enough of those Jeremy videos that I was like, man, this guy's stopping traffic and like getting nasty with people. I'm like, this can't be legal, you know?
Yeah, I'm a retired Walmart grader.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People ask me what I did on a submarine. I was an idiot. That's what I did on a submarine. I hot racked, was deployed for months on end. I was an idiot, kept in the dark, fed poop. We did some cool stuff that you can look up on the internet, read a book called Blind Man's Bluff. That'll tell you everything that may or may not be true that I can't tell you. And yeah, that's, I don't watch submarine movies. I don't watch combat movies. I don't watch a lot of military stuff. It's just not my thing. I work in the realm of a lot of the veterans coming in, and I hear some great stories from some vets, though. Probably the best one that I corroborated, Marine Corps vet, Vietnam. He was in Vietnam for about 2 weeks, Marine, walking through the jungle, got attacked by a tiger. He's got a giant chunk of flesh out of his arm, scar, where this tiger jumped out, grabbed his arm. He's hitting the tiger until the tiger like raises up, and the rest of his Marines dump rounds into him. And I said to him, I was like, how'd you get your Purple Heart? And he's like, oh, I got attacked by a tiger. And I was like having a cup of coffee, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't really like to talk about it. I was like, dude, this is cool as shit. And I, sure enough, I look it up and it's like, yeah, attacked by tiger and these other Marines shot it and all this other stuff. And I was just like, dude, hold on. I went and got the other guys out of the office and I was like, y'all got to check this shit out. You know, like, I mean, that's typical military. Like, you got to check this shit out. Like, hold my beer, check this out. And that was one of the best ones. I've met some absolute legends working in the realm. I do. I've met one of the Navajo code talker. That's it. Navajo code talker. Met one of those guys. Met numerous Medal of Honor winners.
Well, you have a lot of big things.
Like, what's that?
You have a lot of big things going on too, where you're at, because I mean, you get that new place and it was dedicated, and I remember when all that happened.
Yeah, they're building a big, kind of like a subsidized housing facility for veterans. Yep, right next to a VA hospital. It's a big deal. Should be finished like in the fall, maybe next year, I think.
What's that project's been going on, what, 2 years now?
Yeah, I think
it got approved right after we got back from Sturgis the first time.
That's right. Yep. And
I remember you talking about it.
It's a whole big crazy thing because it's like federal grants and funding and stuff. It's not a homeless facility. It's a subsidized veteran housing facility. So they have to pay. It's not, line up all the homeless vets. And it's a good cause. It really is a good cause.
I just put this up. One of my people she's a female vet, and she says, we don't need our own.
We're all the same.
Exactly. I mean, I had females in my platoon, because I was an MP. We always had females.
Sure.
And I mean, they got treated no different, other than they used a different bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
And when we were deployed, they used a Whizzinator. So,
and I don't think female veterans wanted to be treated different, or female military. They don't want to be different or treated differently. I don't think they do. I don't know.
No, they didn't. And I mean, I've never really had any issues with that.
No.
Now, on the other side of the coin, you've met a lot of really cool
I've met some
military
of your
folks.
Some of your targets, I guess. Yeah, I've seen a couple of people come in with. So I'm retired Navy. So when some of the Army stuff, whenever they come in with a DD-214 with Army stuff, after a while, I've started to learn some of the lingo, like the combat badge, CIB, I think is what you called it.
Yeah, combat infantry badge.
I've started to learn like the weight or the magnitude of what that means. And what's the one where they get for combat jumping? What's that called? Like where they jump in?
If it's just a mustard stain on your jump wings.
Gotcha.
It's the little gold star that they put on the risers of the jump wings.
So seeing some of the Army stuff, I wasn't familiar, but then having some Army guys that work with me, I'd be like, hey man, check this out. And whenever their like eyes light up, their forehead wrinkles, they're like, wait a second, that kind of thing. When a guy comes in with a, second highest award, or the award right below Medal of Honor, that's like there's a registry for Silver Stars, right? I think there's a Silver Star registry. Yeah. When somebody comes in with one of those, it's like, whoa, like you kind of like, hey, check this MFer out, and then a little bit of digging, you see that the font on the DD-214 just looks a little off, because I think they had like the same typewriter for every DD-214 for a while, or it looked like it to me, the same type of font. And then one comes in with a little bit different font. You're like, man, something doesn't look right. And then you start putting those things together and you're like, wait a second. And then you see a previous DD-214, like where they got out and re-enlisted, you see that signature of the approving officer on the same DD-214 7 years later, same rank, same everything. And you're like, wait a second, how does that work out? How does this person that signed this DD 214 stay at the same position for 7 years, same rank, sign a second DD 214? You're like, what's the common denominator here? You know, and nobody ever pretends to be a mechanic. Nobody ever pretends to be a fueler or a cook or, you know, just normal jobs. I don't know what you call it. Admin. Nobody ever pretends, like in the Navy, to be a yeoman, right? Nobody ever pretends to be that. It seems like with the Army, everybody pretends to be a Green Beret, and Marines, everybody is a
Force Recon.
Force Recon. That's it. Air Force, everybody's a PJ. What else? Coast Guard. Nobody pretends to be in the Coast Guard. I'm trying to think. Space Force. We've had some Space Force people come in. I don't really know all the jobs for that. It's mainly like computer people. But, you know, I mean, nobody ever pretends to just have a normal job. And normal jobs
How
are
do
very
they?
important.
I wonder what kind of injury claims they get. What's a mainframe fall on them or some shit?
I'm sure it's carpal tunnel, you know, something like that. Carpal tunnel, astigmatism from staring at a computer all day or something. Who knows?
That could be.
Yeah, I see some winners. I see some the people that come in that are real modest, in my opinion, are legit. If they come in real modest, you know. And I've seen people come in 1, 2 stars, and you're like, you know, 2-star general, 2-star admiral, very modest, just happy for any help they can get. And then you have other people that come in, the younger generation, some of the people that got out maybe not on their own the circumstances they chose, and they've got a huge chip on their shoulder. They've got you know, kind of the entitled, the military or the VA owes me. Everybody hates the VA until they think the VA will give them money. That's what I've kind of noticed as well. And yeah, it's a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I can only imagine the other side of the coin. I would completely lose my shit.
Sometimes you're just like, yep, okay, no problem. I'll file it. Just file it.
And there's so much misinformation out there that people they can read the regulations. They don't fucking comprehend them
No.
at all.
There's some YouTube channels that make a living putting out misinformation on VA claims. There's I wouldn't say he's all bad. He's kind of right on a lot of stuff, but he's also trying to sell you a course. There's a guy by the name, funny enough, his name's Craig, Combat Craig on YouTube. Check him out. I forget what branch of service he is, but he puts out like VA news. And at the end of every VA news thing, it's like, buy this course and I'll teach you how to file a claim. And then if you look in the about section of his channel, it says, this channel is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a VSO. I'm not blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a second. So this guy's selling this course for a couple $100. He just told you all this stuff. And then he's saying like, I'm not legit. And maybe I'm sure that's some kind of legality or whatever, but there's a lot of misinformation on VA claims. And if anybody has questions about a VA claim, go and find a veteran service officer in your area. Go on to va.gov. You can find VSOs in your area. They're not paid by you. They're not a law firm taking a kickback of your settlement or of your VA claim. They're just normal people.
So like we were talking earlier that I've been doxxed and all this other shit.
Sure.
And I've had complaints filed and all this. So this person claimed to be a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I wasn't even the one that highlighted this person. Somebody else put out a video about it who I know. I played his video and had him on my panel and we talked about it. And I said, yeah, this person does not meet the minimum requirements to be a veteran. And the minimum requirements to be a veteran 180 days of active duty time outside of your initial active duty training.
Training, right?
You pretty much said that when you said earlier, but this person did like 1 day in the National Guard, went to MEPS, failed the physical due to a pregnancy, and is now saying, no, I'm a veteran because that's an injury. Have you ever heard of a pregnancy? The military has all kinds of regulations dealing with pregnancy. They don't call it an injury. It's not a disease. It's not.
I've fallen down a lot on a lot of things. I've never fallen down on something that would make me pregnant.
Impregnate you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you fell down a lot when you were in training and crawling and all that other stuff.
I fell out of many of airplanes. Yes.
Oh yeah, you were one of those guys.
Yep,
so yeah.
Yep. Fell out of a lot of airplanes, but yeah, I never fell on a dick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a weird, and I think some people, I don't know, they just try to associate everything with something to get something for themselves through some VA disability compensation,
And I don't think this had anything to do with VA compensation or anything else. I think it was more of a, I don't know. I really don't know. And like I said, I wasn't even the one that highlighted it. I just showed the video, and I'm the one that gets attacked. Of course, the other guy folded like a lawn chair, took his channel down.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh, I get a lot of hate mail on my channel. I do a lot of public commentary on like social events, political commentary type stuff. I always say in the videos, this is my opinion. I'm an expert on my opinion. And, I just provide my opinion on like what's going on in the news, maybe with the presidential race, maybe with the border crisis, maybe with the feet licking in Oklahoma with the kids, that kind of stuff. And I get all kinds of hate mail, and, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And it's almost comical. And then they start quoting regulations, but they're misquoted. They're proving my point because they don't have the comprehension of what that says. Active duty.
Mm-hmm. They create their own truth.
Yeah. National Guard people, you're active National Guard, but you're not active duty.
Some of the most angry people I get are National Guard because they come in and they want to file a claim and it doesn't fall under that Title 10 orders. So then I'm like, well, this goes under workman comp because you're a state employee. And the first thing I hear every time, are you saying I'm not a veteran? I'm like, I'm not saying you're not a veteran. I'm saying for VA purposes for this injury, you're a state employee. You're on Title 10 orders. Like New York City, New York, the governor of New York just activated 1,000 National Guard to go work in the subway, right? That's happening right now. So because they're activated under the governor, if somebody got injured in the subway, it wouldn't apply to VA benefit purposes because they're not on Title 10 orders. They're on state orders. To fall under Title 10, it's got to be under the presidential orders. So Governor Hochul with New York, she just activated 1,000 National Guard in New York City to work in the subways because crime is going out of the craziness, which I don't know how the posse comitatus law comes into effect. But if somebody got injured, they wouldn't fall under VA regulations. They would fall under state, which is workman's comp.
Yeah, so, under state orders, posse comitatus doesn't come into play.
I don't know.
Under federal orders, it does. So gotcha. Unless a civilian's on a military installation, and even then, we can't enforce the UCMJ. We can enforce the associated state laws that they have broken while on the base. Um, that's a real convoluted thing, especially when you're dealing with family members and all that stuff.
Same thing going on in Texas at the southern border. Those National Guard at the border are activated under Governor Abbott, not under the president. So they will fall under state regulations, not under VA regulations. Now, if the president said, hey, I want all you National Guard guys to go to the southern border, that would be different, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It really gets convoluted, and the reserve not as convoluted as the guard, because the reserve, when you get out of the reserve, you get a DD 214.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's totally different. Um, Even though it's still that IDT, the inactive duty training, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year.
Yep.
It's inactive duty training, IDT. And that was the point I couldn't get across to these people. And you know what? I just gave up trying, because it's just better to ignore stupid than continue to try and converse with them.
Well, with your line of work, especially law enforcement, the trouble with idiots or arguing with idiots, they drag you to their level, beat you with years of experience. So there's no winning.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like having a battle of wits with an unarmed person.
That's right. You got it.
And yeah. Yeah. And my law enforcement, just so everybody knows, and I never really put it out there, but everybody knew that I was law enforcement because somebody on another channel put it out there. But as of October last year, due to the state laws here in Massachusetts, I have come off the road and I am no longer working. I am, however, still certified, post-certified as a police officer in the state of Massachusetts. And where that's going to go, there's some things in the works where I may go back to work for a year or two, or I may not. But that's up to the legislature. It's almost like a age discrimination kind of thing, but they do allow for waivers for that. But and actually, I'm kind of settling in. I don't know if I'd go back or not.
You like
At
getting
this
up
point,
late.
race season's coming up pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
and the weather's starting to get nice here. It's no more snow on the ground, and it's starting to warm up. So,
Good
what do
for
we get?
you.
Another week or so, and we'll be springing forward again.
I think time does go forward in a couple of week or
Yep.
two. Yeah.
So we'll be getting longer days, and yeah.
Well,
So
good for you.
we'll see how that goes.
Well, Craig, I appreciate you having me on the channel, man. I'm always happy to
Yeah,
help.
and I know you've got a schedule to keep. You got some other stuff that you got going on tonight. So
yeah, my channel has grown really fast. I didn't expect it to. I made one video about Harley Davidson kind of going woke. And since then, my channel has kind of exploded. It's gotten much bigger. I think I'm finally going to get one of those silver play buttons on the wall in the back. And I'm pretty happy.
you know
about
those are
that.
made out of wood, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, they are.
I hope it is.
Somebody got one of the gold ones, and they said, "Yeah, it's made out of friggin' plywood."
Oh, and they just wrap it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
but that's great. I'm glad, because I know
yeah,
when we first got together, you were like, "Oh man, I don't know what to do to get my channel," and then it, yeah, you did the deep dive on Harley Davidson and called them out.
I think the
And
big thing for YouTube, anybody that wants to start a YouTube channel, make videos you want to watch, and you don't find your audience will find you. That's the biggest thing I could tell anybody.
yeah, that's pretty true. But anyway, Ben, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. As always, good to see you. And
Sure.
who knows, maybe I'll come out there for some barbecue.
Absolutely, Craig. Feel free anytime. And if you've got any of the people on your channel that you know and trust, and they've got any VA questions, feel free to share my email address with them. Okay,
Okay, I will do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it again.
buddy. You take
Guys,
care. I
thanks.
can't wait to see some more race videos.
Yeah, they'll be coming. They'll be
All right,
coming
bud.
for
Take
sure.
care.
All
See you,
right,
Craig.
thanks, buddy.
Good luck. Go Navy.
You guys got your ass kicked this year. I had to get that in there. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I've known Ben a few years, great guy. And if you guys have any VA questions or issues that you're having with the VA, reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with Ben, and he'll get you taken care of. And with that, I'm going to sign off for the evening and hope everyone has a great evening. And tomorrow,